Noraly Schoenmaker is widely recognized today for her solo motorcycle travels across the world, but her path to that identity began in a life that appeared stable, structured, and fully established. Before everything changed, she had a respected career, a long-term relationship, and a home in the Netherlands. On the surface, it was the kind of life many would consider secure and successful. Yet beneath that stability were quiet tensions and personal interests that did not fully fit within her structured routine. What followed in 2018 was not a gradual shift, but a sudden collapse of that entire framework, forcing her into a complete reinvention of her life. A stable and structured life. Before 2018. Before 2018, Noraly Schoenmaker's life was defined by stability and long-term planning. She had built what appeared to be a complete and balanced existence, combining professional achievement with personal security. Her daily life followed predictable patterns shaped by her career and her relationship. Financial independence, a home, and a clear future direction all contributed to a sense of control. From an outside perspective, there was little indication of instability or dissatisfaction. However, stability can sometimes create rigidity where choices are guided more by preservation than exploration. This structured environment gave her comfort, but it also limited the space for sudden change or uncertainty. A career built on science and global experience professionally, Noraly worked as a geologist, a field that required technical expertise, fieldwork, and international travel. Her job took her to different countries, often in remote or challenging environments, where she participated in surveys and resource-related projects. This work provided not only financial security, but also exposure to diverse landscapes and cultures. It shaped her ability to adapt to unfamiliar situations while maintaining scientific precision. Although her career was stable, it also introduced contrast between structured academic work and the unpredictability of field environments. This combination gradually built resilience in her personality, even if her overall life still remained anchored in routine. A relationship built on long-term expectations. Alongside her career, Noraly was in a long-term relationship that appeared stable and future-oriented. It had developed over several years and was built on shared expectations of permanence and mutual planning. Together, they had created a life structure that included emotional trust, financial coordination, and long-term goals. From the outside, the relationship seemed secure and balanced, reinforcing the sense that her life was progressing in a predictable direction. However, such deeply integrated partnerships often rely heavily on trust, and when that trust is assumed to be solid, underlying issues can remain hidden. This relationship formed a central pillar of her personal identity at the time. Early signs of independence and adventure. Even within this structured life, there were early signs of Noraly's independent spirit. She had experience riding motorcycles and previously owned a Ducati Monster 796, reflecting a personal interest in freedom and control. Riding required focus, risk awareness, and decision-making in real time, contrasting with her analytical work as a geologist. In addition, her international assignments exposed her to unfamiliar environments, reinforcing adaptability and curiosity. These experiences did not disrupt her stable life, but added layers of independence beneath it. Over time, they became important foundations that would later support a drastic shift away from routine and toward complete self-directed travel. The turning point. Discovery of betrayal in 2018. The defining turning point in Noraly Schoenmaker's life came in 2018 when she discovered that her long-term partner had been involved in an ongoing affair. This was not an isolated incident, but a sustained pattern of deception that contradicted the trust she had placed in the relationship. The realization did not unfold gradually, but arrived as a sudden rupture in her perception of reality. What she believed to be a stable and shared future collapsed instantly. The emotional impact extended beyond personal disappointment, reaching into the foundations of trust, memory, and identity that had shaped her understanding of her life up to that moment. Collapse of stability and immediate life changes. Following the discovery, the consequences were immediate and far-reaching. The relationship ended, and the future they had planned together disappeared. Noraly was forced to sell her house in the Netherlands, a space tied both financially and emotionally to that chapter of her life. At the same time, she resigned from her job, removing another pillar of stability. Belongings were reduced, commitments were cleared, and her previously structured life dissolved within a short period. What remained was uncertainty and a lack of direction. This phase marked not just the end of a relationship and career phase, but the dismantling of an entire life system. Psychological impact and identity breakdown. The emotional and psychological impact of these events was profound. The loss of trust affected her ability to interpret past experiences, as memories tied to the relationship became difficult to reconcile with new reality. Her sense of identity, previously supported by career, home, and partnership, was suddenly destabilized. Without those anchors, daily life lost its structure and predictability. This created a period of emotional instability where decision-making became centered on immediate survival rather than long-term planning. The collapse was not only external, but internal, affecting how she viewed herself and the choices she had made over the years leading up to that moment. The decision to leave everything behind. In response to this breakdown, Noraly made a decisive break from her previous life. She sold or gave away most of her possessions, reduced obligations to a minimum, and stepped away from established routines. She then purchased a one-way ticket to India, marking a clear departure from her former existence. This was not a carefully constructed long-term plan, but a response to a life that no longer felt sustainable. The decision reflected a need to distance herself from environments and memories associated with the collapse. It represented a shift from structured living to complete openness, without a defined destination beyond departure itself. Beginning of a new path. Through travel, arriving in India marked the beginning of a new and uncertain phase. Without the structures that had previously defined her life, Noraly began to explore the world through movement, travel, and motorcycle journeys. Over time, riding became not just a mode of transport, but a way of rebuilding identity through experience rather than stability. Each journey introduced new environments, challenges, and perspectives, gradually forming a different kind of life framework, one based on adaptability and self-reliance. What began as an escape from collapse slowly evolved into a long-term path of exploration, reshaping her identity into that of a global solo traveler. Conclusion. From collapse to reconstruction. Noraly Schoenmaker's story is not simply one of adventure, but of reconstruction after loss. The life she had built through career, relationship, and stability collapsed after a single but deeply consequential betrayal. In its place emerged uncertainty, followed by decisive action and radical change. By leaving behind familiar structures and embracing travel, she transformed instability into movement and uncertainty into direction. Her journey illustrates how identity can be rebuilt when foundational systems break down completely. What began as collapse ultimately became the starting point for a new way of living, defined not by permanence, but by continuous discovery and self-determined freedom.